All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, everybody. Welcome to the 4th annual Biology Teaching Assistant Project, BioTAP virtual conference. We are super excited to see everybody here today. As always, we always hope that this will be a face-to-face conference one day, but virtually lovely to see everybody. My job today is to take you through a little bit of information about BioTAP. I first wanted to introduce myself. I'm Beth Schussler. I'm here at the University of Tennessee. I am your day 1 MC for the conference. I was the PI of BioTAP. BioTAP grant funding has just ended, so we're going to talk a little bit about what that means for BioTAP into the future. But I also wanted to do some shout outs to our conference committee because they worked really hard to send all of this information out to you to plan for this. And I'm going to call out their names and then ask them to unmute and just wave hi to everybody. Horrific, sorry everybody. So first I want to introduce Frank Castelli, who's the chair of the conference committee. He's at Cornell University and he will be your day 2 MC for the conference.
Hello, welcome everyone.
Thanks, Frank. I don't know if Ash is here, but Ash Heim, who's also at Cornell University. Yes, I see her. Ash, could you unmute?
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Ash. Olena James, who's at Middle Tennessee State University, and I know I saw her name.
Hi, everyone. I'm driving, so I'm just going to keep my camera off right now, but I'm happy to be here.
Amy Keegi, who is at the University of North Florida.
Hello.
Hey, Amy. And Audrey Chen Liu, who is at the University of California, Irvine.
Everybody.
And Audrey, you'll be hearing from a lot today because she is going to be moderating our chat for the speakers. All right, thank you all so much. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about BioTAP. As the former PI, I know just a little bit about it. So I'm going to go through just briefly what BioTAP has done in the past and then kind of where we're thinking about going for the future. And throughout, I'm going to be referencing the website. If you want to see any more information about BioTAP, just go to biotap.org. BioTAP started off in 2013, actually now, as an NSF-funded what's called a research coordination network undergraduate biology education. So it's an RCNUBE project. And these were established by the NSF to essentially bring together people who were working in isolation, who would have benefited from essentially, so I'm going to enable something, who would benefit from working together. And we thought, you know, there's so many people that do fantastic work on TA professional development, but often in isolation. And this was really important for us to bring them together, to start a community, start talking to each other in terms of how we can enhance what we do with TA professional development. And so the network is a network of those who train TAs in essence. We're not really a network of TAs. We're a network of TA practitioners, essentially. So what was the goal of the project? And I'm doing this to emphasize some of the changes that we'll see in the future. The goal of the project was to enhance the effective implementation of biology TA, what I'll be calling TPD, Teaching Professional Development. But it was specifically because we wanted to increase the capacity in the community's ability to do research on TA TPD. And we took this tact because it is a research coordination network. And so the research that we were coordinating was research on our TA professional development programs. And that was needed because there isn't actually a ton of literature on how to enact TA teaching professional development. We needed to build more of that. So we had 3 kind of objectives or ways that we were going to approach that. We wanted to obviously expand and support collaborations related to TA professional development. That once again is the whole idea behind a research coordination network, is to bring people together. Number 2, we wanted to foster collaborative research through a program that's called the BioTAP Scholars program, which I'll mention in the next slide. And then we wanted to try to bring together work that people were doing, existing work, to synthesize, disseminate, and advocate for research to advance TA teaching professional development. Those were kind of our 3 prongs of what we did. over the life of this project. The BioTAP Scholars program was kind of, I guess we could think of it as the crown jewel of what BioTAP did. The BioTAP Scholars were folks that applied to be a part of this year-long program, specifically because they wanted to enact a research project on TA, teaching professional development. And we did that as part of a cohort. So we had 4 cohorts of BioTAP Scholars. It was usually 16 to 18 people per cohort. So we ended up with 66 BioTAP Scholars. And they worked together at a face-to-face workshop, except for cohort 4, which was the pandemic cohort. So we, at the bottom right, you can see our virtual workshop. And then afterwards, they set up a project that they wanted to enact. They went back to their home institutions. They started to enact it. And then we had these periodic gatherings of online virtual, I'll call them support groups, where we talked to each other about how our projects were going, what we needed help with. And that kind of sustained us over the entire year. It was a fantastic program. We had a lot of fun, and we think and hope that our BioTAP Scholars did as well. So what were we able to accomplish with BioTAP? We just turned in our project report to our program officer, and she'd said it was one of the best that she's seen. She was really impressed with the outcomes that we had in the project. And so it is a really, really successful kind of enactment of what NSF wanted. We ended up with 250 people who are on a listserv that are a part of the network. We really worked hard to gather resources together that are specific to doing research in biology education that would be helpful for people who want to start doing TA, teaching professional development, research articles, methodology articles, videos on how to do certain parts of research. The videos were produced by CERTL at the University of Georgia. They're really fantastic. And then the whole website, I like to think of it as like everything I would have wanted to know when I was first starting off doing biology education research, because I transitioned from a science field into bioed. And so this was the website I wanted that I didn't have. The BioTAP group, also the PIs and the steering committee did some other research. We put together publications on a national survey on practices in TPD, how to conduct research on TPD. And then recently we just have a paper that should be coming out in Course Source, which is the BioTAP Scholars program, how we ran it, the data to show its effectiveness. We put that out there because we want others to emulate the program. And so that'll be an important piece to our contribution to the literature. We have a position statement on why TPD is really important. We want everybody to go to the website, download that, and just start like handing it out to all of your administrators on your campus, because it's important for them to understand why teaching professional development for TAs is important. I think once they get it, they totally understand. But I think that they often aren't thinking about it. It's not something that they necessarily are focused on. And then of course, the virtual conference. This was not something that we started off saying we were going to do to the NSF. This arose out of a desire to share the research that the BioTAP Scholars were doing. It was something that we felt we could handle. This was, back when we didn't know Zoom quite as much, 4 years ago. We started this conference, and it has been a joy, really, to see people present their work and to gather as a community. And this is something that we intend to keep doing over time. Now, what have the BioTAP Scholars told us, and what has BioTAP achieved? We have a lot of BioTAP Scholars in particular that said that the program really helped them in professional advancement. And I think importantly, being a part of the network and being able to talk about what BioTAP is about helps not only to recognize TA professional development is important, but helps to recognize TA professional development practitioners as doing important work. And that is something that we really, really want to get out there, is that the work that you do to develop TAs is critically important at our institutions and needs to be supported. New networks, new connections, and new research. Our BioTAP Scholars so far have had 2 publications and 14 conference presentations, and that should be increasing over time as we all slog through the process of getting things submitted and reviewed, which we know is hard these days, right? So getting reviewers. All right, so let's talk about the future of BioTAP. You know, we are not an NSF funded project anymore, but we are continuing. We have a really strong network. We have a lot of people who are very passionate, and we are going to move forward. So we're at this point now where we are, what are we going to look like post-grant funding? We want to really acknowledge the folks that took part in a sustainability task force that we pulled together in our last year of funding to talk about what it might look like once the funding was gone. And here we are. So what you'll see is that there's going to be different people in charge. You know, the folks that were the 5 primary PIs are not necessarily going to be the people leading BioTAP in the future. And I think that's important, that we want the people who have joined the network to be the people to carry it forward and to have new ideas and new ways of approaching work with TPD providers. So there's going to be a lot of new opportunities to get involved. We have a call out for committee members right now. And then I think also the other thing is that we were really kind of bound to having to really focus on research on TPD. And we don't have that anymore. Now we can focus more cleanly on just helping people develop TPD programs. So really the whole gamut, all the way from development to implementation to assessment, can now be our focus if folks want. So this is going to be what the leadership is looking like at the moment. We have 7 folks, I'm one of them, that are going to be on this governance task force. And this was something that Bill Schussler, who's on the governance task force, had said that was a way that they had proceeded with an organization that he had belonged to. Is a task force is by its nature short-term. They are not the people who are leading the organization. They are the people who are going to figure out how we are going to get the leaders for the organization. Are people going to be elected? What are the offices going to be? How long do they stay in power? You know, what does their power look like, you know, in terms of BioTAP? But then also we have a number of committees that have been established because the work of BioTAP needs to go on, even while we're figuring out what the governance structure might look like. And so we have an education committee that has co-chairs of Aaron Shortledge and Lori Kays. Conference committee, Frank Costelli is proceeding on to help plan the next conference next year. Networking and communication committee, we might split that committee, but right now we're going to keep them together. But Dan Johnson and Jacob Jha will be in charge of that. And then we might have, we're kind of wrestling with the idea of what we would call a task force on a TPD repository. This is something that throughout the life of BioTAP, people asked us about constantly. It was, you know, we need ideas for teaching professional development. Where do we go to find out what other people are doing? Can we database these? Can we have a place, a storehouse where people can submit what they've been doing? We don't know whether that's possible, but we want people to get together and tell us what might be possible, how we would do it. And then if it is possible to actually then put that into place, we would put a committee together probably to start to get that going. We agree it's totally needed. We all need ideas, and we need to kind of, you know, band together as a network to put those things together. So remembering, BioTAP is still always going to be a network to support those who develop, implement, and assess TA, teaching professional development. That's not changing about the organization. But a few ideas about some things that might, and these are things that we're not necessarily set in stone yet, but you know, obviously what I just said, we're not necessarily going to be focused on just research. We would like to focus on helping members with program development and implementation of their TPD programs. We also recognize that graduate students are not the only instructors, particularly of our introductory courses, that there are a lot of institutions that use undergraduate teaching assistants. And so we are now free to also focus on that group as well. We haven't, we've always kind of worked with people on that, but I think we can more cleanly say it doesn't have to be just graduate students. We certainly have a lot of ideas for new conference formats, ways of getting together, workshops, things like that we're going to be thinking about. Reaching out to new people. Our organization by its nature tends to be very much a research one organization, because there are so many research universities that use teaching assistants so widely. We would very much like to expand beyond just R1 to lots of other different institution types, and then also network with organizations that have similar foci that are slightly different, but there's lots of opportunities to network with CERTL, POD, you know, SABRE, lots of different organizations that we could probably collaborate with more effectively. As I mentioned, databasing TPD programs is a future priority. And then advocating for the importance of teaching professional development, for the expansion of teaching professional development could be an aspect. If you all are interested in these things, please stick around tomorrow afternoon for the future of BioTAP session from 3:30 to 4:30. We want people's ideas. We want people to kind of indicate what would be helpful to them, and that'll help guide what we will become in the future. All right, that's BioTAP. I'm now going to transition to a little bit about conference logistics. There are going to be 3 different types of sessions over the next 2 days. We have a keynote that will be starting in about, let's see, 3 minutes. We have short talks that are going to be 20 minutes long this year. And we have a new format called Nascent Idea Sessions, NIS. And these are kind of like roundtables, but they're more like kind of topically focused. And so somebody has an idea, something that they want to brainstorm about. They're going to bring this idea and associated questions and work with people at the session to just talk about, you know, the idea that they have. And this is a great opportunity to network and talk and get to know people that we haven't had at our previous conferences. And so we're really excited about that. And besides the formal sessions, we also are going to have a social hour tonight. And so I will mention that here in another slide or two. So logistics. During the talks themselves, ask all of your questions using the chat function. And once again, Audrey is going to be reading those questions and then getting those to the speaker. It is also set up where you can share links and resources. And so if somebody asks a question, if you have something that can help answer that through a paper that you know or something, please go ahead and just toss that into the chat. If you hear any buzzes or noises or anything like that, that is, those are our timekeepers that are telling us, you know, when we need to stop talking. Like I'm sure Judy is telling me right now that I'm close to the end here. Yeah, there's a noise, see? Soon there'll be a hook that Gilly will bring out, and she will actually just forcibly pull me out of this chair. Presentations are always going to start at the time listed on the schedule. And so even if we end early, we're going to hold until that start time because people are kind of popping in and out. And I don't want people to miss a session because we were ahead of schedule or something like that. So there could be pauses, but I have some polling fun questions for you if there is a long pause. So it's going to be a scavenger hunt. It's going to be fun. All right, tonight there's going to be a social hour from 8 to 9 Eastern. I think I got EST right. I'm a little confused about timing in the world right now, but please join us. It's going to be a great time to just meet other people, very casual, and we are excited to see what Audrey has in store for us for that.